Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Team Podcast. We do not have a name for this podcast yet, so this is what we're going to call it for now. It's Sunday, June 23rd, 2019. I'm JSharpie, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Zeldrick and LadyInfamous and UnsheathedProductions, but we're going to call him T. We have some great topics for you today, but first, let's talk about everybody's week. Let's start off with Zeldrick. How was your week?
My week? If we're not going to talk about, what I actually do in my week, I have just been streaming, and, I got to the end credits of .hack GU Volume 2, and, then, that actually leads up perfectly for Shadowbringers, because I'll be streaming that, and prepping for that, and that'll be on my stream as well. But, aside from that, that's actually all that's been going on.
How was .hack?
Well, I've already played the GU series before, back when it was on PS2. And this was like in 2005, is when Volume 1 was released. And, it feels really good to play still, while it is kind of, dated, of course. But I totally forgot how just stupid that story was. There's so many things to comment on the story and stuff. I remember liking .hack GU back in the day and not being totally enthralled with it, but I liked the way that it played out and stuff. But I was 15, 16, and now it's just I totally like it, but I just make fun of it the entire time, and it's great. Otherwise, if you want a game that is completely anime and anime as fuck, play .hack GU, because that shit's ridiculous.
All right, Lady Infamous.
You about to say Lady Famous.
You might as well.
Yeah, might as well say your name right.
No, that's not my name.
All right, so Lady Infamous, how was your week?
My week was like any other week, just playing games in between. I did a lot of games this week, to be honest with you. I played some Magic Arena, for real, for the first time, outside of an event or something, which was great. Learn how to do layovers and alerts this week, and actually played my controller on my PC for the first time with ball stick, which is a hard game, by the way. I have to play some little bit of Rainbow, and I played some Fallout 76.
And yeah,
I did.
How about that? We were talking about that last week.
Yes, we were. How about it? Interesting.
Interesting, you say.
It's the aesthetic is. I like the aesthetic of the Battle Royale game. I could tolerate a Fallout version of a Battle Royale game. The issue that I did have is the loading times to actually play the game. You go to the main menu, then you go to the Battle Royale mode. You load in, and then you load into Vault 51, and then you meet with all the other players for about 2 minutes, which is a very long time in Battle Royale time. I mean, usually it takes a minute or maybe 30 seconds or so before you can load up the game, for people to drop in. Then after that, there's another loading screen, and then there's a map that tells you where to go, and then is another loading screen, and then you actually play the game. But as soon as you get to all that, actually playing the game is not that bad. I spoke with some people that played it, and they said it's fun. And my rank was low, and their rank was high. So I asked them questions about, how you feel about the game? Is it fun? Is it not fun? Some people that I were playing with which are randos, I don't know them, but I just asked them because they had mics, so I asked them. They were they liked the game. It's a little glitchy. And they having issue with the loading time, but it looks good compared to, I ain't gonna front, Battlegrounds, the one that came out a couple of years ago. and then it went everywhere. That still is not pixelated correctly, but at least with the Battle of the Nuclear Winter, it's it looks good. It looks way much better than that particular game. There's 52, I think 52 or 53 people playing in the map, and it's a ring of fire, and it just closes in on you. And there's nuclear codes too, so if you get all 4 codes, you can put a nuke in a certain area of the map. You cannot escape it. I tried, it didn't work. Teamwork is the most important thing in the game, and I don't mind playing it again.
Oh yeah.
How many people are on the team?
4.
And are you? Is it only teams?
No, you can. It could be solo.
Okay.
I just chose to fill in. There's a button that you say you can fill in for your teammates or go by yourself.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna be a little devil's advocate here. Is this the Fallout experience that you wanted?
It's getting towards there. It's getting there because at least they're trying to fix their mistakes. Versus, let me see, what game do I want to set an example? Anthem. I feel like it was a long-awaited game that was dragged out through politics in the background, which internally affected the game, and they had plenty of opportunities to fix it. And based on what my friends was telling me about them playing Anthem, they were not having a good experience with it. So at least I wasn't upset. It been a long time since I played Fallout 76, and this is the first time that I wasn't upset. I didn't want to quit. I was like trying to play another game, actually exploring. So this is a gear in the right direction.
What makes you think it's going specifically in the right direction? Like, is it more, do you feel like they're getting to the game that you wanted, or do you feel like they just gave you an experience that would allow you to forget the rest of it? Because Battle Royale is going to be completely different than the rest of Fallout 76. So how do you think that
I would say the
enhanced
latter. I would say the latter. For that particular mode of the game, it's a good experience for me. Now, I haven't touched story mode yet. I haven't touched the new NPCs yet. Let's just get that out the way. So I can't completely judge on it, because you need a lot of time to like do the story mode. And I just had enough time to play the Battle Royale. So for that experience, it was cool with me. But it could be totally the opposite when I hit the story mode. It could be different. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just asking because I was thinking about Fortnite.
Oh man,
and how,
I hate Fortnite.
Well, yeah, I know, but just the concept of how, like, does anyone remember the Fortnite base game? Or was it
a zombie game? It was a zombie game.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that there was a battle royale mode was basically a good enough distraction to make you forget that the base game was pretty, like, subpar.
And that they like eventually scrapped.
Yeah, they just basically act like it doesn't exist at this point.
I had someone bought the base game collector's edition for Fortnite and got real upset when they just scrapped that base game and it was free to play. They was upset. I won't know until I experience the single player mode. Will that be the shadow of Battle Royale? I don't know. I'm gonna try to play it this week, probably in a stream or something.
I think it totally depends on how good that Battle Royale like experience is. Like, it's synonymously or with everybody else, if they actually think it's good enough to keep playing that and not do the actual story of Fallout 76. Because, I mean, we're kind of mirroring the same thing as Fortnite, where it started off as having some sort of team or single player experience, or not even single player, but like a story sort of world, and then they tack on a battle royale, and then the previous notion of it, or the previous idea of it, is just totally swept under the rug because it failed. So like, I'm interested to see if adding those NPCs in the storyline is a good thing, and if they actually create a good story out of all of that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Zeldrick. I'm a sucker for a good story that keeps me engaged, that keeps me going with the game. So I can't wait to like give you guys a recap probably next week on the story mode, and probably have some like live footage because most likely I think I'm gonna start completely over with my character and then just start from scratch and then go do what I need to do.
Okay. The biggest complaint for the people that only wanted story mode that I've seen on the interwebs was that they spent time developing battle royale instead of, they could have used that resource to like make the story mode more intuitive.
Yeah, and I think that might be like a significant problem considering I personally don't believe at this point, other than Fortnite and I don't know, maybe things that have been established a little bit like PUBG, that there's a such thing as a battle royale game that doesn't basically have a 5-minute lifespan. So if they put like a lot of effort into the battle royale mode and then not into the story mode, I imagine a lot of people are gonna be overplaying the battle royale mode relatively quickly, and then they're gonna have to fall back on the story mode, which if they didn't do enough to enhance that, like, is probably gonna make it feel even worse.
I think more about it is like because it seems like, in just from a total outsider's perspective, is that the battle royale is just tacked on rather than like, oh, we wanted to make this a major portion of the game, and I think once we actually know how well the quest line is developed, then we'll actually see where their resources were really put in. Because also, one of the major things that I kind of want to know is that with the battle royale, how well does it feel to play and shoot people? And that's already a thing as far as for like shooting other players and stuff like that. But in a contained sort of space, how does it feel to actually play it? So
well, it does have a first and a third person, so you can pick either or. So I tried it both ways. I prefer first person.
Why?
Because I play a lot of first person shooters.
Well, the other thing is that Fallout 3 and 4 were primarily supposed to be played in first person, and you had a third person option already, but like just like the Elder Scrolls series games, like most people play it in first person, as far as I know, anyways.
I had the gun mechanic seems fine to me. I mean, if you're familiar with Fallout, the mechanics are easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like new people will take a little bit of time to get used to, but I think the people that I played with at the time I was playing it, I think they were just straight up Fallout fans. They just wanted to try out the game. But like I said, I can't speak on the story mode if I ain't touched it yet. But I promise I'll get it touched so we can talk about it, because that's important as well. Because you just can't have a decent battle royale mode and you strictly neglect the other side of the game.
Why not?
And me personally, as a fan, I want it to be well balanced.
Well,
I mean, Fortnite did something like that. It's just like, well, fuck the original game that we created. Let's just go with Battle Royale.
Yeah, but I know for a fact this is not going to be like a Fortnite killer or nothing like that. I know that. You know what I mean?
It's nothing like that. I think more about it is that if they really did put a lot more time into this Battle Royale and not into their actual IP, which is Fallout and a story mode and a quest line and shit like that, then they are completely dumb on the Fallout brand and the name of it. And if like that's the case, then they don't care anymore, and they don't want. Well, I mean, some people would say they stopped caring after 3, but still, like, or after New Vegas.
You never care after 3. You never care after 3. You never care after 3.
Oh.
You tolerate bits and pieces of each game for me.
But more the point is that like with this new Battle Royale mode, if that is where they put all their resources or more of their power, and their quest line sucks, then they are tarnishing the Fallout brand, the name of it, and it's going to hurt them significantly down the line, because when Fallout 5
I agree.
Yeah, when Fallout 5 gets announced, or like a different named Fallout comes out that's a full-fledged game, everybody else is like, well, I mean, we don't like Fallout anymore because of how you treated 76, or we don't like Fallout anymore because of we don't think that you're actually putting effort into Fallout anymore. And that's up for debate of when they stop caring about it, but still, reports in the works with that.
Interesting. All right, let's get on with Unsheath. We all just call him T.
I was wondering which one you were
I don't
say.
know. I didn't know either. It just seems like Unsheath P is like a very... It sounds like a company name to me. So
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to call you T.
So for me, the week, I didn't get to game as much as I typically do. In a lot of cases, I try to play as many nights as I can during the week, but I've been kind of trying to do a little bit of work-life balance. So I've added in some days at the gym and some days just to kind of get some sort of, things at home completed. But the days that I did play, I actually got to play a pretty good number of games. The first one was Night Lights, which is a new PC game that came out, I think it was last week or so.
Yeah, tell us more about it.
That one's a weird one to describe. It's a puzzle game where you play a little robot, and the idea is essentially they drop you into a level, and you have to figure out in a puzzly sort of fashion how to get from the door you came in to the exit door. And that door could be the same door. You might just have to activate it. You'll enter the level and it deactivates, and then you have to go through all these steps to which, are typically platforming, collecting items, stuff like that, in order to activate the door or to reach the other door, whatever the exit is in that particular level. And as you go along, you get different powers. One's a dash, one's a kind of a multi-jump. There's a thing where you can use light as a way to expose things in the background that you couldn't see when the lights were off. That'll help you kind of solve the puzzles. But overall, it's a really cool game. I'm a puzzle guy, so I enjoyed it. But there's I think I ran into a game-breaking bug at the end, especially after watching YouTube videos that show someone getting to the exact same point as me in the game ending, and then I get there and nothing happens. So I think I got to a game-breaking bug, which really sucks, because typically after I do a puzzle game, if I really enjoyed it, I'll post on Twitter how much I loved it and let the devs know or whatever. But now I'm kind of torn, because now I don't even know if I can finish the game, even after they updated about 3 times. But yeah, so far so good. It's been good. I kind of burned through it pretty quickly. Then I played My Friend Pedro, which also came out last week, which is kind of an action platformer about a guy who's basically listening to a talking banana that's basically telling him to kill people. And he's going around shooting people from this mafia organization or some kind of corrupt organization or something like that. I just started it, so I think I'm only 2 hours into it at this point, but it's really cool. It's based on I think it kind of in some ways reminds me of what's the game that kind of started bullet time?
What, Touhou?
Max Payne.
There you go.
Oh,
so
wait,
Max
bullet
Payne
time,
in the sense
not
that,
bullet hell.
Yeah, bullet time, not bullet hell.
Yeah.
So in the sense that he's diving all over the place, you can do slow motion, you can shoot multiple people at the same time. I think it's kind of inspired by that, but also just generally kind of big, cool looking action, to the effect that they even decided to, at the end of every level, they'll show you a clip of what they thought was the coolest part of your gameplay and ask if you want to save it and stuff. So I think they're kind of trying to sell the cool action sort of concept.
Oh, so it has a smart a smart meter, the
replay?
A smart replay.
It's a replay essentially. Yeah, it'll show you a little clip. It won't be the entire level. I think it automatically selects this is what we thought was the best footage, which is probably based on your score. It is a score-based game as you go through, kind of along the same lines of Devil May Cry, for example, where as you attack and kill people, you're building up your combo, and as long as you keep it going, it keeps building and building and building until you stop, and then it kind of calculates your score for it. It kind of does something similar. So it might be going off of like what you got the most points doing. But it's cool. I've saved like a couple clips. So I was thinking about posting them as highlights somewhere, wherever that, makes sense. But it's fun so far. It's one of those games where you just kind of completely ignore the story. I have no idea what's going on except for there's a floating banana and a dude with guns.
I mean, you might as well just forget the story. Like
exactly. I think it wasn't meant to be like that kind of game.
But then again, like there are people that are just like, yeah, this is completely ridiculous, and I love it as far as for the story goes.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Then also played, and you could correct me if I say this wrong, Sharpie. Is it Touhou Nights? Touhou? Was it? Touhou. Okay, which is that's where the bullet hell comment that Sharpie just made came from. I think you were thinking that. But I guess Touhou is was originally like a bullet hell shooter, bullet hell game. I don't know if it was a shooter. Was it a shooter?
Yeah, it's
before?
like the top-down shooter.
Yeah, exactly. This game is kind of like a side-scrolling adventure platformer that seems like it has some ish bullet hell elements to it. Like it is not crazy. So far, I haven't run into a specific instance where I felt like I had to dodge a ton of bullets while I'm attacking back. The boss fight was kind of ish like that, but not really. But it's more like story based. It has like time stop mechanics and things of that nature. I guess there's how many of those? There's been a bunch of those games, right? At this point.
Well, I know the Touhou series is pretty out there. I just don't know too much about it. Last time I played was a fighting game. Was a long time ago, and I don't even know if they still make those. But then I know Touhou is a pretty popular franchise.
Okay, yeah. Which I've seen some of their characters in like when I've watched Salty Bet on like Twitch, where they have all the Mugen, however you pronounce it, characters fighting against each other. Some of those characters are in. You'll see them pop up in some of the matches. So I kind of knew there was a fighting game at some point, but I never heard of it prior to actually playing this game. But yeah, so far so good. Again, made it about I think 2 hours into that game as well, and I'll keep playing it next week. But then I also played 1980X, which was something that Zeldrick kind of made me aware of this past week that I had no idea existed. But that was I think that's probably the favorite game that I played this week because it was kind of rooted in the 1980s as sort of a teen drama kind of story of somebody who's kind of feeling lonely and a little bit lost and doesn't feel like they fit in anywhere, but also wrapped in these kind of throwback arcade games. So there's this dramatic side of the story, but there's also these kind of high action arcade games that they put in there as well. There was it started out with something along the lines of Final Fight, side-scrolling beat 'em up, which I didn't know was coming, and I loved it because I've been looking for something like that for a while, just for nostalgia purposes. Then it went to, I think next was the Outrun type of game. Oh no, sorry, X was kind of like a R-type shooter. So maybe is that kind of what you were talking about with Touhou? It was kind of like side-scrolling
it's not side
shooter, or is it more
Touhou,
top-down?
it was more like a top-down shooter.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like Galaga.
So like 1942, that kind of thing?
Yeah, 1942, Galaga, those type of games. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this one was kind of like side-scrolling, so like R-type from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went to, like I said, Outrun, kind of like the old Sega racing game. Then there was like this kind of endless runner sort of action game that they had that was centered around you being a ninja fighting like kind of spirits and collecting orbs and stuff.
Kind of like
Shinobi. Oh, really?
I don't know if it was like Shinobi because that one like it forced you to keep running.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like it was platforming or anything like that in that sense. You were just always running to the right.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes, if there was an obstacle on the bottom level, you'd have to jump to the second level or whatever, that sort of thing.
I'm checking out the trailer right now, and like I know exactly what you're talking about. Like an endless runner.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one was kind of like it felt like a text-based RPG in a way. Dungeon crawling RPG, which that was kind of like the climax of the game, and you find out that you fight this robot that's kind of akin to what you saw in Tron, where there's kind of like this master robot, and you actually can't defeat him in the game. But what you find out is that this game is supposed to somehow tie into more games of the same type. I don't know if it's supposed to be episodic or if they're just thinking, oh, there'll be a 1980X2. But in the end, all of a sudden, like the characters from in the video game start coming out into the real world, and they're like, the story's not over, to be continued.
Oh, really?
But I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was
When
cool
you say
because it kind
text,
of
when you said text game, are you saying it's like Mud?
Mud. I don't think I played Mud.
Like it's just only text.
No. So I guess that maybe that's not a great way to describe it, but the reason why I say it is because when you move, it looks kind of like Doom, like the original Doom, where you press forward, you move forward, and then you pivot 90 degrees to go right.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's a dungeon crawler where like the viewpoint is actually first person, and then when you come into an enemy encounter, the enemy appears right in front of you, and then you select actions from it. Okay, I know exactly what
but
you're
I said
about.
text-based specifically because like as you're in the game, you do press I use the controller, so I pressed up to go forward, but right along the side there's a command that said move forward, move right, move left, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Which to me I think was supposed to be reminiscent of, there were some games back in the day where like you would have to type in move forward and then the character would move forward.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant by text-based, but it might not have been the best way to describe it. I'm not sure what the actual genre
And then
is,
like the dungeons were all cube-based, right? Cube-based rooms. Yeah.
But it was super fun. I loved it. Like, I'm totally excited for more. The only thing that threw me off a bit was that it cost, I think, $10. And so when they said more in the future, the first thing I thought was like, this took me about an hour and 15 minutes to beat, and it was $10. So does that mean that this is episodic and the next one will be $10? Does that mean like they're going to do a full release and I just paid $10 for like a full game that took me an hour and 15 minutes to beat? I don't know.
You don't know if you want to spend like $10 more.
That felt like a lot of money for an hour and 15 minutes, even though I loved it.
I mean, is there a replay value?
You couldn't really lose, and I don't think there's anything you can do in terms of, there weren't any collectibles. It's not like they were tracking high score as far as I could tell or anything like that. I think the only thing that would make you want to replay it is just you loved it the first time.
Oh, wow.
So here's the thing:
play it again?
Is that would you play it again?
What was that?
Would you play it again?
Oh, honestly, very specifically, I wanted to play the Outrun style game and I wanted to play the beat 'em up again. Like, I wanted full versions of those games. They look, just because I enjoyed like the original versions of them, so it was really cool to have something that was similar.
Interesting.
Maybe the Ninja one too. I don't know, but I wanted to play, like, I would have been very happy to play a fleshed out version of that entire game where we saw what happened, where all the characters came into the real world, or I would have been happy playing like individual versions of the two. But like, it just felt, it almost whet your appetite, but just not enough to be like, yeah, that was worth $10.
Well, what I want to ask is that was the story weaved into like this gameplay well?
It was an interesting story, but it was completely separate. And I think that might have been part of the issue. So what it felt like was the part where the story of this teenager or whatever, and the gameplay would have been woven in together, was whatever came after the end of the game.
Okay.
So the part where, like I said, the part where all of a sudden the characters are coming into the real world that the main protagonist is living in, that's the part where they would start to kind of intermingle. But realistically, what they had in the game at that point was, to give you an example, the person was like, oh, my mother told me to never go into this place that they had found, and then they decided, screw it, it's really attracting me that I want to go into this place. They go into it and it's an arcade. So they start to find a bunch of people they call like kind of nerds and stuff like that. Basically the four of us are down there in this thing. And they're like, oh, this is a place that I might be able to fit in. And they're like, I could be one of these people. I might find what I'm looking for down here. And then they just cut to an arcade game. And when they cut to, I think at that point they cut to the Outrun style game. And at the end of it, there's kind of, just like the original game, there's a countdown timer that every time you reach a checkpoint, it adds a little bit more time. And you're just trying to make it to the end before you run out of time. At the end of this one, you completely run out of time. You can't finish it. You run out of time. And that's kind of the sign that the person has to go back to their regular life. So then they transition back to the story of it. So they're integrated a little bit, but the part where I think you would get really pulled in would be the part where you see what happens where their life is actually impacted by these video games. So,
Okay.
yeah.
As I'm watching this trailer like a few times, it looks like that a lot of what was put into was the art style and to the animations of everything, because it's not only that you have like 5 different types of games that that is in this game, and classic ones at that, but also you have the story to go with it as well. And I'm not sure what the like pixel quality between like the games and the story is. I can't really tell with the games, but the story bits where they show animated screenshots, they look primo. Like they look really, really good. And
oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like that what you're getting more of is you're getting a nostalgic feeling while getting a really good artistic sort of, not story, but you're getting like pretty much like a very good looking visual novel of what's going on. And I feel like that with the hour and a half that you played, most of it went into the art form as well as many different types of gameplay wrapped into one.
Sure. I guess overall all I'm saying is, I guess a good way to think about it is, did you see it was a couple of years back, they had that video on YouTube that someone made where they did their own kind of fan fiction version of Mortal Kombat.
I've seen that.
And they did, actually someone did one with Power Rangers too. It wasn't the same person, but did you guys, I know LadyInfamous, you said you saw that. Did you guys see that one too?
I feel like I have seen it.
Me too.
Either one of those?
It had great production value. Is that the one?
Yeah. I think it was like
Okay.
Jax fighting somebody in his living room, and maybe it was Scorpion or something like that. And then Raiden shows up. And anyways, the concept of it is, I think the one issue I have is the same issue I would have with that, where it's like, it's fantastic and you love it, but really what it makes you want to see is the full thing.
Okay.
As compared to just being like completely content with that tiny little snippet of, or I guess even an example too was, did you guys see the Punisher one with I think it was Thomas Jane?
No.
Where everybody was saying, no, they want him to be the Punisher, and then like he did one, and then I think Nathan Fillion might have done one for Uncharted or something like that. It's all these things where it's like a nice little bite of it, where the reality of it is you'll probably never watch it again, or maybe you will like a couple years down the line, but it just really makes you want the full version.
Okay.
Which is not really, it's more of a compliment than anything else. It's not really like a problem with the game. Like I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. But anyways, yeah, that was all I played. Besides, I played a little bit of Mirror's Edge just when I was testing out my stream. I just wanted to say, I forgot how good that game is. It totally holds up. It's such a unique experience.
Yeah, I love Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, I didn't play the second one. I've never tried it, but yeah, I just needed something to test my stream on when I was like tweaking the OBS settings, and I was like, oh, let me play this, and just like played it for 2 hours or something like that. Just because it's such a cool concept and a unique concept and a way to do a stylish game that you play all the time in the exact same way for the most part, completely differently. So that was all I had for this week.
Cool. Yeah, and my week has been pretty all over the place. And like over the past week, I switched over from Streamlabs OBS to OBS, and then I did not check the settings that closely. I kind of left it at default kind of, and then started streaming. And then when I reviewed it at the end of the week, I reviewed my stream over the at the end of the week. I was like saying, why is it so pixely? And then that's when I realized, oh crap, my settings are all over the place. But anyways, this segues back into what I was playing, which was, like I streamed Final Fantasy 14 for once. And
did you? When did you stream that?
I think on Wednesday. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. It was very
that after you finished that other game. I forget what the other game was called, but
yeah. So I was yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah. So I was playing that because like I was like, wait, what did I play?
Wow, you don't even know your own week.
It was the game that you finished in like I think it was a couple of hours or something like that.
Are we talking about Freedom Planet? Because
there you go.
So I played Freedom Planet, and the reason why I'm so late because I think that game came out in in 2014, and now that the second game is coming out, and I heard so many good things about this first game, and I had it installed on my computer for the longest time, and then I started playing it, I think on Thursday, and the game is very well made. Like it's basically Sonic, like the classic Sonic games, but it's very refined. And I think the history behind that game is that people wanted a classic Sonic game, but they couldn't use the Sonic IP, so they just said, you know what, let's just make a dragon girl, a purple dragon girl, and then that's what they did, and they made the whole game like feel good. It's not like, oh, try to run as fast as you can, try to just skip over a bunch of things, and and then they actually have like health bars, and they actually have actual attacks. I mean, the attacks are very limiting, and it doesn't get progressively better, but it feels really good. The sound design of it, the music is pretty well done. I wouldn't say it's like super fantastic, but the music is pretty well done. The voice acting was okay. I mean, it feels like a classic 80s voice acting that's, that keeps you hyped when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are very energetic characters, right? And then I actually felt good, playing this game, not because of the controls, but because of how energetic these characters are, right? And I kind of miss that feeling. So that kind of, I was very glad that I even played this game mainly because of that. But the controls, right? You know how like in the old Sonic games, when you try to run up like vertically, you actually stop, and because there's not enough momentum.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, you actually can keep going. It's
when
a
you
little
don't have that momentum.
Yeah, even if you don't have that momentum, you have to have a little momentum when you're actually starting to run, but you don't need it when you're as long as you just keep going. And that felt kind of weird at first, but it when it comes to quality of life, it made sense, because it's not like, because when you screw it up and then you go back, it's like saying, God damn it, I have to keep doing this until I get it right, and then like that can frustrate you, right? So that's what this game like fixed. I think that's I don't know if that's the right word, but they kind of like, it's like a quality of life thing where when you're just when you're running somewhere, and then like it prevents you because of game physics.
Right.
So I got a quick question. Were there some of the devs that were involved in making the original Sonic games that worked on this or something? This looks super similar.
Yeah,
like in a lot of ways.
I don't know.
I don't think that's true. I think what you're talking about is, well, the original Sonic devs. Never mind. I was gonna say Sonic Mania, but that was like totally a fan project. Well, not a fan project, but that was like made by fans of the original Sonic that were that turned into this like a being a part of the Sonic team. But anyways, no, this is nobody from that made the original Sonic made Freedom Planet.
Because I'm looking, there's even a scene where they're like flying in a biplane, like a yellow biplane.
It's totally. The thing is that this is totally a love letter to back then. So
Yeah, and it's really good. Like the control, like you see how like the contrast of colors in this game. It's well positioned to a lot of things. There was just one part where I couldn't tell if it was a wall, like so. Until I ran into it, and it wasn't really a wall, but it was just that one part. But other than that, the contrast, the color contrast of this game, the character design, the what would you call it? There's like you would expect for this game to not have voice acting, but it actually has full voice acting. However, there's this one character's like his voice acting wasn't bad, but it's more like the microphone quality, or like I don't know if it's like a compression thing or something. It just felt like he was talking into a microphone. Like it didn't sound like like a character it's speaking. It sounded like a guy talking into a microphone. Like when it comes to just sound in general. I'm not talking about his voice acting ability.
Yeah, the quality of sound was not was not well.
Yeah, so I mean that kind of threw me off, but other than that, like if you haven't played this, I highly recommend it. It's only 4.5 hours long, but it's really, really good. Like the part that really gets you is when you're jumping. When you're jumping, like it has like this little clicky sound that they make, and and then that like you can feel like how good that feels because like because like that you executed the jump that you executed the jump, and it's not like like in Sonic when you jump it makes a whoop sound, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah, so this one has like this sound every time when you jump. Right? Like,
are we doing bird calls now?
Hey, sorry, I'm Japanese. We use onomatopoeias a lot, so we make sound effects a lot because, yeah, that's how we are. Anyways, so it's not when you land; it's when you like execute the jump, and it just feels good. I don't know how else I can explain it. Like I say just try playing this game. It's one of the few games that's considered overwhelmingly positive on Steam too. And then there's like a list, like Steam has like an official list of overwhelmingly positive reviewed games, and this is one of them.
I tried Freedom Planet for maybe like 10-15 minutes, and like I just for some reason I had the opposite effect on it, and the controls just felt so weird to me. But even like now that I know it's only like 4.5 hours long, maybe I'll like struggle through like another 15 minutes of it and see if it actually works out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I do wish that this game had was the way how these levels were designed, especially this the one when you're in town. It's like the equivalent to that casino level in the Sonic games.
Yeah.
Like there's like these like the background has like these building with doors, right? And then it like like in those old like 16-bit beat 'em up games, like you can actually enter those doors and like buy shit. I wish that was the case. I was like, damn, that would have been so awesome. Like you can be able to buy shit, like get more abilities and stuff like that. Like that would I mean maybe that's what they will do in the next game, but that's what it felt like they should have done. Because that's what it looked like visually.
Does it feel like there will be a next game?
No, there will be a next game. They already announced it.
Okay.
And I think it's on Steam. Oh yeah. There's already a store page on Steam.
For Freedom Planet 2?
Yeah, for Freedom Planet 2.
Okay.
The characters look different though. Damn, I don't like. I like the Freedom Planet 1 design a lot better.
Nice.
All right.
Was there any other games you played besides Freedom Planet? And Final Fantasy, which you didn't say anything about that yet. But...
Yeah, so in Final Fantasy 14, what I learned was this one other player from the Heroes of the Storm community, she just happened to be on the same server as me too, and then we're like saying, "Oh shit, we're on the same server. What are the chances of that? Not the same data center, but we're on the same server."
Mm-hmm.
And out of however many dozen servers there are, what are the chances of that happening, right?
Very rare, since like I know a bunch of people already on the Primal data center, and they're kind of like spread out. But then every single person that I've ever seen being like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna like try out," or I got Final Fantasy 14, and if they ever mention a data center, they're like, "They're Ether's data center." I'm like, "Fuck, I can't play with you now." Shit.
Hopefully, like eventually they'll have like cross everything.
I don't
playable.
believe that'll happen because the cross-world thing is
they did that with WoW. They did that with WoW.
Okay.
Like originally they did like this whole data center thing with WoW too, back in like 2005, I think. And like now I think it's all like, oh, everybody can just play together now.
Okay. I hope that will be a thing then, because I'm tired of like seeing my friends just suddenly pick up the game. I ask them, they're like, "I can't play with you, sorry." And there have been a couple of times where like I find someone that is wanting to play it, and I'm like, "Dude, okay, I got an FC that you can join. I got a Discord server you can join. I got this, that, and the other thing, and I can totally help you out. I know all this stuff. I can level you through shit, and like we can enjoy it together." Oops. And then I keep on it, and I talk to them, and then it's like, "Oh, like, did you get him?" Like, they say yes, they did. And I was like, "Oh, cool. What server are you on?" "I'm on Gilgamesh," or "I'm on Cactuar." I'm like, "Fuck. What happened to all the other shit that I told you?" "Well, here's this other thing that turned me to this other server." I'm like, "Okay, I guess that makes sense." But I'm just like, so.
Yeah, that's like the biggest problem with that game, I feel like, when it comes to community.
Sort of. I mean, like I'm glad that the cross world thing for each data center is a thing, because I've found some good use of it since they implemented it. Other than that, like I just pretty much end up having to see if I can coerce people into picking my data center. And it turns out that like no, they haven't.
I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that.
I already told you all the information that you need to know.
I know.
Lady. So like, also when you pick that game up and you start that free trial, you better let me know, so that way I can step by step walk you through what to do, so that you can play with me and Sharpie here.
Yeah, are you coming back to Primal?
I am. I'm actually going to be doing it today or today. I'm going to be doing it today.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's it for us. Now for the gaming news on what happened over the past week. EA. Who heard about EA? On what they said. Surprise mechanics.
I heard this quote and I was like, "That's EA for you."
Yeah, to the government.
Yes,
yeah, because they were trying to present it as gambling, right?
Yeah, loot boxes. Okay, this is what they said. Loot boxes are not loot boxes. They're surprise mechanics that are ethical and fun.
I think they're insulting my intelligence. And it says they referred it to Kinder eggs. Are you kidding me?
I don't even know what those are.
Kinder eggs?
Kinder eggs is like the chocolate, and it has a little prizes.
Oh, with the little toy in it. That's right.
Yeah, some have candy, some have more chocolate, some has nothing.
Some has toys, yeah.
I have a question for y'all, because so whenever I hear about the loot box complaint, I always feel as if my impression on it is that the problem with loot boxes is that you can pay for them. Mm-hmm. Because other than that, it is kind of the same as what a lot of other games do. Because I don't know why it would be gambling unless it's the fact that you can literally buy a loot box with real money.
Okay, so here's
So
the biggest problem with the system is there. You know how games have ESRB ratings, right? And there's a lot of games are E-rated.
Yes.
And parents buy these things for their kids, and then and these games have loot boxes in it.
Okay.
So essentially,
Okay.
what they're doing is they're promoting these loot boxes to children.
Can you please reference like what game is rated E for everyone and has loot boxes?
Sports games.
Overwatch?
Yeah, probably like FIFA and
Is Overwatch
guaranteed
is
those are like
Overwatch E? I thought it was teen.
I think T.
No,
I bet it's
T.
not E.
Yeah,
It's
no.
probably T makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well,
I
mean,
don't think it's an M-rated game.
the thing. The more about it is that because ESRB ratings is not going to matter when it comes to buying a game for a child, because like 100% of the adults actually ignore that shit. But it's more that like it. Because when we look at loot boxes, and no matter what they contain, it is essentially gambling, even if like there's no, you can't spend real money on it. It's still gambling because you can either spend, if there's no real money transaction involved, you either spend in-game currency or you level up and you get another loot box. And what are you gonna get? You don't know. So
Sure, but there's no like initial investment other than time.
correct.
Which in a lot of that's basically video games in general. There's almost any game that has an unlockable, you're investing time for the purposes of
I
potentially
mean, you
getting
can say that the same thing about piracy too, like game piracy. Like it's like I'm not pirating games. It's a surprise acquisition.
No, because then you're
Right?
specifically going to get that.
Right?
You can't call it a surprise if you're going to get that.
Oh, I'm not
specifically.
robbing you. It's a surprise money grabbing. I don't know. Kinda like
the
that.
thing is that like they're presenting this in different words. We all know, so that way their loot boxes are not illegal in these specific countries, but they're wrong. That's essentially what it is. Even though that you may only invest time into it, it's still gambling because unless they are like, yes, you will be guaranteed a item that is something you do not have, I feel like is still a strong form of gambling. Because like I can't tell you how many times that I've played Overwatch and like I've gotten the same fucking shit 20 times over, and I'm like, I want this one skin, but no, I've got to spend like another 20 hours playing games, and then hopefully I get a skin that I want.
The Mercy Halloween skin.
Everybody wanted that, except
Yeah.
me.
Oh my god.
But I have a question though. What does that say, for example, about Diablo?
What about Diablo?
Yeah.
Every single time you go into a dungeon, you might want something specific, but you grind for it or farm for it because you don't know if or when you're going to get it. It's the same concept.
Yeah, but you're not paying for it.
That's why I said is the issue that there's real money involved.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it always felt like what I would imagine would be if they're really completely sold on the idea of having loot boxes, it seems like it would solve the problem if you could, for example, let's say Overwatch, you could buy that Halloween Mercy skin if you wanted.
I wish I could. I would have bought it.
Or as you play through matches, the same way you get loot boxes, however they set it up in terms of when you earn one, you get loot boxes and then you randomly can get one, but you can't buy a loot box. You can only get it by playing the game.
Yeah.
Does that not solve
skins
the
are
problem?
one thing. When it comes to advantages, that's another thing too.
That's actually more of like what EA is facing, because their games have. I'm sorry,
because if you're playing a sports game, totally, you can buy
not just that
stuff
but,
to level up your character.
Right,
Yeah.
but not just that. But I don't know about Battlefield 5, but with remember the whole thing with Battlefront 2, that fucking shit. Yeah,
I thought there were characters that were behind basically like that wall.
it was characters, it was abilities, and it was guns.
Stronger? Oh, well, yeah.
And all that stuff made your either you got a better ability, or if you got more of the same one, your guns were stronger, your abilities were stronger, and then the character sort of shit. So like, and then to have that money aspect involved, that was especially with the Star Wars name, and to relate the sports brand, it hits the community even harder because everybody wants to be playing these games, but to be able to get better at it, they're locked behind loot boxes and or a paywall, and it damages the entire industry, or it damages the brand. If it was like, say, just cosmetics, it's still like, I think, a form of gambling if you pay for it and you still can't get it.
Yeah.
So
what do you mean you pay for it and you can't get it?
You pay for the loot box and you still can't get it.
Well, yeah, that's why I was saying, does it work to say you can't buy a loot box? You have to earn it by playing, and then everything is cosmetic.
I think it works better that way, and I don't think it's more of a form of the typical term of gambling, because instead, with the scenario that both of us are presenting, where it's you can't spend real money on it, you invest time into it and you get a loot box that gives you a chance to get it. That's not a typical form of gambling. That's gambling your time investment, which actually more shows, do you care enough to put time into it to want this specific skin?
Well, and that's kind of why I feel like that would sort of solve that problem, because I imagine what happened with the Mercy Halloween skin was that after a certain amount of times you're playing it and you don't get it, you're like, this is taking too much time, and you get frustrated and just don't play.
Right.
Or you don't even try anymore to specifically get that skin. But I mean, it sounds like the real big problem though is the concept of it being gambling though, right? Which to me is in itself you can solve by just saying you can't buy them.
Yeah, and then not only that, with like those Kinder eggs, like the thing that they compared it to, Kinder eggs. You don't buy thousands of dollars worth of Kinder eggs, right? With loot boxes,
you could if you wanted.
I mean, you
something.
could, but then like that's only if it's in stock too. I mean, that's one thing is if there's in stock, and then another thing is like, I mean, if there's somebody crazy about Kinder box loots, then that's
I was
gonna
say that's probably part of it. I'm sure you're not getting like anything specifically cool from inside of a Kinder egg.
Yeah. So yeah, but then but then games, like people can spend thousands and tens of thousands of dollars just buying these loot boxes.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I get that part. That's why I totally don't think you should be able to sell the loot boxes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Unless the loot box is very specifically, you know exactly what you're getting inside. And then it's, something it's a different piece. Like, oh, maybe this box has all the Mercy skins in it, and you get that for $5 or whatever. That's fine. But then you're redefining what loot boxes are as we know them.
Yeah. I mean, do you think they should not be called loot boxes? They're called surprise mechanics.
I think the name makes no difference.
Kinder egg.
So
Kinder egg. That's the name.
I don't care what you call it.
Do you think it's ethical?
No. I think the fact that you're paying for a chance to get something or anything, I don't think that's ethical at all. If you are given a choice to buy in-game currency to then buy outright a specific skin, then yes, I believe that should be a thing. But when it comes to loot boxes, I don't want to spend money and then not get what I want.
Ain't that the truth?
So the only thing I would say is to play a little bit of devil's advocate, is that realistically, you think about things like the lottery. That's basically exactly what you're doing. And I don't know if I would call all those scratchers and stuff like that unethical, specifically because they restrict it to adults, which means you have the choice to make it if you want to or not. I never buy lotto tickets because I don't want to spend my money and I don't want to lose.
The difference though with the lottery and scratchers and stuff, and while it is a very small portion, like there are taxes involved, and that goes into different aspects of of school and community, whatever. Like that is the slight difference that you face between scratchers and the lottery and then loot boxes, because all of those profits from sales of loot boxes that people buy go directly into the company's pockets. And I won't say that I defend the lottery more than I defend loot boxes. No, because they don't spend enough or give enough to schools and shit. But that's the difference that you face between this and that.
Yeah, but the one thing I would say, again, devil's advocate, is that you can say that exact same thing about anything you buy from any of these games stores. It's all the money is going to the developer, or to, is going into their pockets and not going out into helping infrastructure or schools or stuff like that. It's still the same thing. It's an adult purchase where all of your money is going to somebody.
Right.
So I think the biggest problem for me is, if you have a game like Overwatch where it's rated T, I think it's rated T. I think we said that, right?
Yeah.
You have people who aren't adults who can play it and who can spend their money making a non-adult decision.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest problem. Gambling, I mean, that's just something, that's obviously that sucks, and that's an issue that a lot of people have to deal with. It's a serious issue, but I don't know if I'd necessarily raise my hand to say this should be outlawed. This is unethical.
I'm not fully against loot boxes myself, right? I should think that they should put it on on the box or somewhere on their on the Steam store or whatever service that they're using, saying please gamble responsibly or something like that.
Yeah, admit it's gambling, because it's definitely gambling when you buy it, 100%.
Right. I think I still want to ask this between all of you, in the form of loot boxes, though, if you pay for it, and specifically what I have a problem with is if you say spend $20 on 100 loot boxes, you still don't get the one thing that you want. Are you pissed?
I'll be hot as shit.
I'll
be hot as shit.
There you go.
But that's literally that adult decision I was talking about. You could buy $10,000. I think who is it? Roy Jones Jr. When the lottery hit $1 billion, I think he bought it was either $10,000 or $100,000 worth of tickets or something like that, and didn't win. It's that was on you. That was probably a dumb decision on your part. But it's a decision that theoretically you have a right to make as an adult with your own money. You spend your own money the way you want to spend it.
Right.
If you fuck it up. But it's different because you have kids.
Yes.
Yeah, when you get kids in there, that's a whole different story, because kids aren't supposed to be, I think you're supposed to be 18 to gamble regardless. So if you have a game that someone under 18 can play, theoretically, you shouldn't have any gambling in it, which means you shouldn't be able to buy any loot boxes.
Right.
Or for example, Overwatch shouldn't even have that mechanic.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in there at all. Theoretically.
I mean, if loot boxes at all to buy with real game or with real money.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in-game currency.
If it's in-game currency that you earn in totally in-game, that's different. Because it's still an investment of time to put into it to get a loot box. But the idea of loot boxes in general at all, are you say if
I'm
you
with it. If I'm not with it. If as long as I can be able to spend the money on exactly what I want, I don't have no problems with the transaction.
Yeah, I would say to avoid trouble, just say screw it and just not do it. I know it makes a ton of money for them, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
It's fucking Blizzard. They can take away the real money transaction of loot boxes, and people will still swarm to that game or to their company.
You just put the stuff that people want to buy up on the store and say, yeah, you can buy this specifically. People are going to buy it.
Remember remember the breast cancer awareness Mercy skin that they did?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was the only way to get it is if you bought it outright, and that was $20.
Yeah, I would not have had that.
$20 for a skin.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of people bought into that, and I don't even know how many
breast cancer awareness.
I guess more, maybe more than half of that goes to the actual Breast Cancer Awareness Society or.
See, that's the thing, though, is that if, depending on how many of the profits go to the awareness, yes, that's good to charge $20 for a skin. But if you're like, no, we actually pocket $19 of that and we donate $1 for every skin that gets purchased, we're gonna be like, no, fuck that. Charge it for $5 then.
Yeah, if they had like Mercy skins that you could buy, and it was, I don't know how much they cost because I haven't played Overwatch in forever, but let's say they were like $3. If they had a breast cancer awareness one where they were like, it costs $20 and we donate $17 to like breast cancer research, then I'm in.
Yes.
But even if they said half, I'm like, you just got a skin for me for $10. Like, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay, well, here comes the next point when it comes to Blizzard and Overwatch. Kim Phan leaving Blizzard. She was the head of esports of all of Blizzard.
Why did she? Is there any reason why she left?
Oh, that's a big question that everybody's have. Like last month, you know what happened, right? The guy who created Overwatch League left Blizzard. So
really?
Yeah, so who else is left, right? Who else is left at Blizzard?
A
lot of people are just
skeleton crew.
Basically nobody, right? Other than Papa Jeff or somebody, unless he left too, which I wasn't aware of.
No, he's not leaving that. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
There's no way.
Yeah, so like, this is what I think about why like all these people that are leaving Blizzard. I mean, Mike Morhaime is no longer really part of Blizzard anymore. The guy who created pretty much Blizzard, right? I think like these people, like it can be one of these few things, right? Like one is that they're trying to get out of Blizzard because they can't scrap what Blizzard has become anymore, and they can't fix it anymore, or it could be as simple as they're just looking for another opportunity, which I highly doubt. But like, because I'm pretty sure Blizzard was an awesome place to work at. But at the same time, like Blizzard, like I've never seen such a colossal company fall in a short amount of time since BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Right? So you
gotta have to. Why? Okay, I'm not too familiar with the Blizzard infrastructure. So what I'm trying to learn real quick. What happened that made the dramatic change from rise to fall, as you would say?
Okay, you know why Blizzard is super successful?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So for reference, like their IPs and their esports.
Were you gonna say like StarCraft or something?
Yeah, they made Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch. They made the Hearthstone, Diablo, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So like basically, it's technically I think 4 franchises, right? It's the Warcraft franchise, the StarCraft franchise, the Overwatch franchise, and the Diablo franchise, right? And there's like spin-off stuff from there, like Heroes of the Storm, which is like the entire Blizzard universe into one game, and there's Hearthstone, which is a spin-off of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft is technically a spin-off, but now it became like its own main thing, right? But last BlizzCon, they announced Diablo, which a lot of Diablo fans wanted, a new Diablo game. And what they ended up doing was they needed a mobile game.
Weren't you there last year?
Huh? Yeah, I was there last year.
Okay.
And people were super disappointed. I get it that they needed to make a mobile game in order to be profitable, but that's not what the players wanted, or this was a bad time to actually announce it.
They don't need a mobile game to be profitable. I'm just saying, like, didn't they also like announce that they were currently working on an actual Diablo at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they did say that. However, the biggest problem was they announced the mobile game at BlizzCon in the United States. The mobile game industry is in Asia, right? Japan, China, I think Korea. I don't know. maybe less so in Korea. I'm not sure, but I know in China and Japan, mobile gaming industry is pretty big.
Yeah.
Right. And I think announcing this Diablo game at BlizzCon in the United States was a bad idea.
Yeah. I think at all, because a lot of people would rather have a Diablo that's not mobile, I feel like.
Yeah, and poor Wyatt for being up there on stage too, because like I feel like, you know, like he didn't really have a choice but to announce this thing, and he got a lot of backlash about it, right? Kim Phan leaving Blizzard. That's huge, right?
It's huge, and I feel like that with these heads leaving, and also, you know, actually, to more specifically, Kim Phan of head of esports, and it's not just of one game; it's esports of Blizzard, which says a lot because they're gearing up for Overwatch 2. That's already been a thing that's been talked about, Overwatch 2, and if they're actually going to be doing an Overwatch 2. Fucking, they better either find someone quick or they better start fixing up their company because their company's going down the tubes.
Yeah, and out of the four of us, I'm pretty sure I was the biggest Blizzard fanboy.
You're right.
Oh, you wasn't a bigger one than me.
I'm not the biggest one in
total
this
joke.
I'm not the biggest one in this room. I'm not the biggest one in this room.
I'm not the biggest one in this room either.
Yeah, you could say that I was probably out of all four of us, I was like the biggest Blizzard fanboy.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, and this hurts me so badly. Yeah, this hurts me so bad. Like, just to see what Blizzard is becoming, and like if they don't do something soon, like it hurts. It's hurting me super bad.
That's how I feel about Call of Duty. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the same company, Activision.
But that's a different subsection, though.
I understand your pain, is what I'm saying.
All right. Here's the next topic: RockPaperShotgun. You know about that news website? You heard about this? It's a white journalist that said Cyberpunk 2077 is a racist thing against black people. I
got words. And
okay, you go ahead.
And guess what? Wait, before we continue, guess what? The writer of Cyberpunk 2077 is black.
So I'm going to make corrections to this. It's not the writer of Cyberpunk 2077 because for that game, that's actually CD Projekt Red. The writer is actually for Cyberpunk 2020, the tabletop RPG that 2077 is based off of. And all of this shit comes from 2020. Now, to summarize, what the journalist was talking about is that there is a section of the game or what was shown in a trailer or just whatever in this universe that is a gang that's called the Animals. And all of them is made up of people of color. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the entire intentions of the Animals, but the words about this group within this universe was that how could they name a bunch of people of color the Animals, and that's racist, and giving them all like animal names or whatever. But the writer, being black, so Cyberpunk is actually steeped in a bunch of this culture from the 80s, and that's where it came from.
Yeah,
that's
and it's a dystopian future.
Right, so it's a reflection of all of the problems from America of that day and putting it into the future. So the fact that the Animals, the way that it's written and who they are, that's further portraying the troubles of what was going on in the 80s and of that time. So when Mike Pondsmith, who's the writer of Cyberpunk 2020, okay, Sharpie, do you have the actual quote for that?
I had it up like a few days ago. I don't remember why I can't find it. I think it was on Reddit that Mike posted a reply on.
Well, at any rate,
it said, I'm looking at this article, right? It's a gang that thought of themselves as powerful wild animals that may be one lady. There's a lady in there called Sasquatch, and he does have this on Reddit. I'm looking for. He says the shootings look limp and has blemishes on the face. So he's really like nitpicking the artist's rendition of this. And
so I have the quote exactly from right here.
It?
I did.
Okay.
So he says, if I wasn't heavily involved, I would be able to get more done. As it is, I barely have a life, he wrote on Reddit, responding to the suggestion that he wasn't still involved in the development of Cyberpunk 2077. As for the animals, the whole freaking point is that they think of themselves as powerful, dangerous, wild animals. You'd have thought that the lady named Sasquatch would have given them a clue. I can't exactly reiterate that anymore. So like that's the entire point. And then later in this article, which is actually kind of weird as far as for giving them a little bit of liberty with this. It says here that he also expressed approval of changes that CD Projekt has made to the Voodoo Boys gang, describing the 2020 iteration as a scathing commentary on cultural appropriation. That presumably reflects the fact that, despite its name and affectations, the gang is made up primarily of average white boys, according to the Cyberpunk wiki.
I don't understand how it got this deep. It's just a video game.
It's 2019. It's kind of what happens.
I'm just saying. Okay, look.
It's all these SJWs,
look, I don't even know what that means, but this is what I see. Okay, I think all of us on the panel go through our individual struggles, whatever they may be.
Mm-hmm.
And we all chose to play video games to escape that struggle, right? The last couple of years, people been, I don't want to be mean, but I'm going to have to be honest, a little bit more sensitive than usual about video games. If this is what they originally, it sounds racist. It's a little too much for me. Because there's more harsh words than the animals to be considered racist.
Right.
This commentator just saw that the color of the skin and just automatically wanted to. If the skin wasn't black, he wouldn't have had a problem with this. He wouldn't have said what he said about this. But he just felt like he needed to say this. Some people agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Me, it's like, will it like stop me from not playing the game? No. It's just people gotta have a little tougher skin, and there's more damaging things in this world than just somebody calling a certain group of people animals. I'm not gonna even list the name of words that could have been replaced of this and would have been considered racist.
Yeah.
But y'all guys got an imagination.
Well, I think what more of what's going on is that, like, I don't know who this journalist is for RockPaperShotgun, but it seems like that. I mean, without doing any research of where this is all coming from, they just blindly picked out a situation and saw what they saw and thought, this is not right, but didn't actually go through the research of why are they like this? Like, why is this world like this? They didn't go to context. They didn't. And that's actually very much needed for every situation.
Especially in a complex game like this.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I said, like, it's a 2019 thing. There's kind of like this trend now where people have a tendency to look for whatever they can be offended by first. I think one of the funniest examples was Resident Evil 5, and that was a long time ago, but when it came out, there were people who were upset because they said it was racist because it was just a white guy going around killing a bunch of black people. And everybody was like, they're in Africa, right? It's like, why are there no white people out there? Like, they're in Africa. Like, you got to have some context for what you're talking about. Some people, like you said, are just like, they go off of that initial impulse. So they see black people or Haitian people or whatever, and then they see they're called the animals, or like, what is it, the Voodoo Crew or something like that. And it's like, why does it have, their first thought is like, why does it have to be like black people called animals? Or why does it have to be like a white guy killing black people? And it's like, you got to have some context for what the story is, who the characters are, why they're in the scenario they're in order to understand the motivation, as compared to just making it seem as though all of our creative content literally has to be super politically correct. Like, we can never have a white main character and a black bad guy without it being racist. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to understand context, and a lot of people don't even bother trying.
Like, like to them, it's like, oh, like a white guy killing a black guy, it's automatically racist.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a touchy subject, and like, again, it does go to like context, but I mean, when it comes to like video games and or movies, you're obviously going to be giving context, but I feel like that when you're put into these universes of movie and video games, like, I don't know what else to say besides like I don't feel like it's going to be automatically racist just because white guy kills black guy, because you're creating a world, and if that is how the story plays out, like, for all we know, it's like the black guy is the antagonist, and he's going to destroy the entire world for his personal gain. And it's like, well, I mean, there's your context right there. Do we want to rid the entire Earth? No. So, okay, he's got to go. Like, context is important, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Now for a much more interesting news, which is not really game related, but it does affect us as gamers and our purchasing choices, is AMD. The Ryzen 3000 Geekbench scores scored higher than the Intel's 9900K series, which is way more expensive than the Ryzen.
I was actually just watching a video about this, about the new Ryzen 3000 coming out, and like how to hold off on spending until then, because we don't know what may happen. But this is pretty big, because all of us could be, and including actually more related to you, LadyInfamous, and me, because like, I'm sure that our rigs are less so than Ty and Sharpie here.
Yours is better than mine. But, I know that for a fact.
But here's
I know that for a fact.
Well, but here's the thing: like, my processor is technically out of date because it's a fourth gen. It's 4790K. Even though that's a really, really good processor, it's still out of date. And for games that are coming out nowadays, like, I've had trouble. Okay, so when I tried to stream Assassin's Creed Origins, I could not use processor encoding at all, because it would just slow down the game entirely. So I then had to switch to the NVIDIA encoding, which worked, but then I had to tone down my graphics settings at the same time. And that coincided with both my processor and my graphics card at the same time. So technically, my rig is out of date by just the processor alone. So, like, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, this is a big opportunity, because AMD and Ryzen, they could be steamrolling Intel once they drop the 3000.
Exactly. And Intel, like, they have to do something in order to benefit out of this, because AMD's really steamrolling them since like the announcement at Computex a few months ago, or was it last month? I don't remember. It was probably a few months ago. But well, AMD, they're coming back with whatever they're doing, and Intel, like, their processor, it costs 3 times as much as AMD's high end, and AMD's high end is beating out Intel. Like, well, not their Intel's highest end, but their consumer based high end.
Right. And we've been seeing a trend with AMD. I don't know about their graphics card division because I still have not given any research into the graphics card division, and their numbers still confuse me. Following NVIDIA is actually, to me, a lot simpler. But again, I've not put much research into the AMD side. But that being said, the AMD has been really, ever since, since their Ryzen series, or was Threadripper after Ryzen? Or was that at the same time? Because
I'm sorry, you asking the wrong person. I just told you I'm here. I just got this. Sometimes.
No, but this is a good discussion because you'll start learning about this kind of things too.
Because all I hear from you saying Ryzen 3000 Geekbench scores higher than Intel's 9900K is more expensive. I just think if it performs better and is less expensive, why not? Right?
And that's exactly when these headlines came out, everybody was like, "Oh, what? A better thing for cheaper? Fuck it, I'll get AMD instead. Screw Intel."
Yeah, and Intel has been the industry leader when it comes to these things for a long time, and this is
for
a
decades.
Big surprise. Yeah,
for
this
decades.
has been a big surprise.
I'm actually less surprised about it than a lot of people, and that's only because since the Ryzen series, AMD has been showing very good promise. Mm-hmm. And I've been hearing it over my social feeds that people were getting AMD Ryzens rather than going with Intel. And since Ryzen has come out, they've gone that way. And before Ryzen, or actually at the same time as Ryzen, I was I got my Intel, and I was like, okay, I know that I put in my research and I really like how the numbers of the 4790K, and I really like it. But then since then, AMD has been on top, and it may have been a small margin, but it's still they still came out on top, and that's specifically towards content creators and artists and all of those walks of life. And because that's what we are, and that's a lot of people who we follow, and it's becoming a much larger industry, or workforce, I should say, amongst the general public. Yes, AMD has been rocking it since the Ryzen.
I agree.
Look, all I know, as me, I have to really get. I love learning PC stuff, to be honest, because sometimes when you guys talk about it, I don't understand it, but then I try to do more research on it. So I am familiar with Intel and Ryzen. So that, like I said,
you'll get there.
With this,
you'll get there.
I'll get there. I'll get there. I'll get there. But I would applaud anybody who's trying to spend less money on a better product.
Right.
All day, every day. All day, every day.
Well, here's the thing, because and actually this is a something I want to ask with LadyInfamous, is that because I'm definitely looking into this new Ryzen that's coming out, and I do need to update my rig, and I'm sure that because you still need a graphics card, would you?
I got something in there. It may not be the best, but I got something.
You got a potato graphics card in there, dude.
Yeah. That's fine. Yo, you know what? And you know what? I'm not ashamed of my GTX 750 Ti. And what? You mess with me. You can play some games. You can play some games.
You can.
Some.
Yeah. But what I was trying to lead into is that I would totally be down to go with you and update your rig with you, and if you would be down for it to help you build it in person, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
As long as if you ain't got no problem going in the hood, you good.
Ooh, Zeldrick in the hood.
I mean, I was there in the
That's my
hood.
hometown.
Sharpie got all of y'all because he actually came to my door.
He
So
don't
I was
got
like,
me.
I'm like,
Get out of
what?
here.
Hey, you gotta remember,
Like I've
I
never
used to
been there
work
before.
in the hood. I used to work in
Yeah.
So
I'm kidding. I'm not from the hood, but I don't have any qualms with like going over to your place.
I have no problem. Like I said, no problem.
Mhm. All right, let's get on to the next thing, which is releases for the next week.
Look, man, I can't do it. I can't.
But you don't know. You saying you can't buy any games?
I can't. I
Oh,
can't.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that
we just
doesn't
talking about it. It's
necessarily
not what you
mean
gotta
that you'll
do.
never play it, right? So, I mean,
Like, I will definitely get Samurai Showdown.
mhm.
I saw T play my friend Pedro. It looked good.
Yeah. So let's start off with like the releases and the dates and what we think about what we think and if it's like a purchase thing like now or later. All right.
Okay.
So the first these lists. Yeah, let's go to releases.com and
Are we not going from? Well, I mean, I can already start naming the first one, like that's coming out soon, like this week. The Sinking City.
The Sinking City. I don't know anything about this.
So, actually, T, I believe you put a little bit of research into this, and I only know vaguely about it, so you may be able to fill in the dots. Now, from what I recall, is that this is a first-person game where you are solving a mystery, but it has to deal with the cult of Cthulhu. Aside from that, I don't know what else there is about it. Do you know anything else?
Well, that's kind of like the draw for me. Like I
Okay.
honestly didn't do a ton of like research into it specifically because like in certain games, once you give me a little bit of a taste, I'm of the mindset of I want to be surprised. So from what I could tell, yeah, it does seem to have some sort of roots in Cthulhu. There was like a Cthulhu-esque statue that I saw somewhere in the cinematic trailer. But it seems like it's kind of some not a horror game, but probably more of like a thriller, a dark thriller or something like that. Somehow centered around Cthulhu. There's monsters, there's like portals into different worlds. It seems like it's after some sort of world-ending event, and there's a guy trying to solve a mystery. But other than that, I don't know. It just looked really intriguing from like the trailers that I saw, and to the point where I was excited about just kind of blindly going in and trying it.
Okay.
But yeah, it seemed like it was going to be kind of like one of those keep you on the edge of your seat type of games where, you know, the anticipation is like worse than what actually happens, that kind of thing. Maybe along the lines of wow, I'm always so terrible when I have brain farts. What's the game that just came out? It was the second one. We've been talking about it where you guys loved the first one. The second one wasn't as great. LadyInfamous thought about playing it. It's kind of a horror game.
Layers of Fear.
Layers of Fear. There
Okay.
you go. In that sense, it's not the same kind of game, but in the sense where like in Layers of Fear, my personal impression is that the build up to what's going to happen is the intense part. And that's kind of what this game sort of gave me a feeling of. And I kind of want something like that, something to get the blood flowing and the adrenaline pumping and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that's kind of why I'm excited about it.
The fact that it's the only draw to me for it is that it is about the cult of Cthulhu. And the aesthetic and the style of it. That's the only draw for me for this game, but I'm not too sure. Was it the people of Layers of Fear that made it, or is that
No? I'm just saying it gave me that. It gave me the feeling that I might get that same kind of experience that a lot of people seem to get from Layers of Fear.
Got it.
Which I don't get because in Layers of Fear, when I watch that, I feel like nothing's happening. Like there's always people who are scared to go around the next corner because they think something will happen, or they're scared to look at this thing because they think something will happen. Just that because it's good at building anticipation, like it's good at using sound design and using visuals to kind of build up anticipation and anxiety and like a little bit of fear. And like as I was watching the sort of cinematic trailers for the Sinking City, I kind of got that same kind of vibe.
Okay.
To where I think maybe I'll actually be a little bit scared playing this game. And that's kind of why I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. It's just like it's the track record of this company of Frogware, and their 2 previous games were Sherlock Holmes games, and I don't know.
I didn't play any of those.
Well, I've never heard of this company, and from just browsing stores and stuff, I didn't think that these Sherlock Holmes games looked particularly good. I don't know how well they were, but it's also like this is a indie company, and their art style to me definitely shows. I thought because it says their first game was Mag Runner Dark Pulse, and I did hear that one was a good one. But I don't know. It's because of the company, and I don't know anything about them, and actually how well their previous games were is why I'm kind of on the fence of like, I don't know if I want to put investment into this one. I'm just totally drawn into the whole Cthulhu thing, and I just hope it does well. And everybody says it's really good, so that way I can pick it up.
Well, yeah, I totally just thought of this as a game that has potential, and I want to see where it goes. But I wouldn't buy it blindly.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go pick up the game today.
I mean, is this game similar? Like, is this like the official story of Call of Cthulhu? Because I remember last year, like I think like October or November of last year, like Call of Cthulhu, the official video game, came out.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember anyone saying much about it after it came out, though. Do you remember? Was it just not a good game?
It was just mediocre at best. That's what I heard.
Okay.
As far as for a unanimous sort of saying about it, but in terms of just what this relates to, it's not related to the Call of Cthulhu, because that's a totally different, like, that's an actual storyline and an actual like setting and stuff in its own universe. Just that this is. I'm on the SinkingCity.com like website right now, and the first line is a quote. H.P. Lovecraft, The Call of Cthulhu. So, yes, it's related.
Yeah. But that's related to, like, the books, right? Not necessarily related to that game.
Correct.
That came out. Yeah.
All right. What's next? Samurai Shodown.
For me, is obviously Samurai Shodown.
Did you get it?
Well, I pre-ordered it a while ago. I actually got a chance to watch some gameplay of it because Maximilian Dude on Twitch was playing it last night. I think I saw you on there too, Zeldrick.
Yeah, I was watching it too. I was about to hit you up and ask you like how you were thinking about it, but
it basically is kind of what I expected, like from what I had seen before. I think it's kind of a little bit slower paced, definitely not like combo heavy, more centered around like punishes once somebody, punishes on attacks that people miss. That seems to be kind of like the biggest part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. Reminds me of Samurai Shodown. The reason why I bring up that like it's one of my biggest anticipated games is because of I did sign up to like participate at Evo in Samurai Shodown. So that's going to be a lot of my streams going like
on Xbox
forward.
or PlayStation.
On PlayStation. Because I don't have like a fight stick on Xbox. Actually, I would probably. I feel like historically a lot of the fighting games that kind of usually caught traction on PlayStation 4 anyway. So it's probably the go-to system to play on. But yeah, it seemed really cool. I like the design of the characters and the art style, and the action seemed really fun. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's officially out on Tuesday.
Yeah, the art style feels like Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
I wonder if the same guy worked on this again, the art director. I don't know. I mean, I think the art director for King of Fighters 14, I think he was Street Fighter 4's art director. I might be wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't look the same at all.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, that's what I heard. I'm not sure how true that is, but multiple sources I've been hearing it from. Like, that's where it's from. So I was like, oh.
But I mean, there's no guarantee that just because it's the same art director, it's gonna look the same anyway. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Well,
It totally could be.
the,
Sorry,
the,
what were you saying, Zeldrick?
the thing is that like this is an SNK game, so like
Yeah.
So wait, you were saying that the art director for King of Fighters went to Street Fighter 4?
No, Street Fighter 4 came to do King of Fighters 14.
Oh, okay.
Because King of Fighters 14 was a 3D game too. And it looked very similar artistically. So that
You're saying Street Fighter 4 and King of Fighters 14 look similar?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Am I thinking of the wrong one? King of Fighters 14 was the last one that came out, right? Huh.
So
I didn't think they looked that similar.
I mean it didn't have that whole black wavy thing.
Yeah, like the paintbrush type thing.
Paintbrush type thing, but
yeah.
It like when you look at their color, the color choices and stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of similar. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So who knows? There could be the next SNK versus Capcom again.
It'll show up.
Nice.
They'll make it at some point.
So to clarify, it's not the same art director from Street Fighter 4 and like who also did King of Fighters 14. It's something completely different. Nobuyuki Kuroki. You might be able to pronounce that better, Sharpie.
I actually don't know any of these artists, so I don't know who.
Nobuyuki. I think I can try.
Nobuyuki.
Give me a minute.
Nobuyuki Haruki?
Yes.
Hiroki.
Okay.
I think was that correct, Sharpie?
Well, hold on. Oh,
he posted it in Discord.
Okay. Nobuyuki Kuroki. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
With Samurai Shodown, I'm gonna get it. I just can't get it right now. And that's the only this Bloodstained Rule of the Night. That looks interesting.
Wait, Ritual of the Night?
Ritual of the Night's kind of like Castlevania.
Yeah.
I mean, it's made by the Castlevania guys, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan
So
of Castlevania.
I did buy it. I just haven't tried it yet.
You bought it, but you haven't tried it yet. Okay.
Yeah. But I've been hearing like a lot of good stuff about the game though. I haven't heard really people complaining much about the game. It seems like it's kind of scratching the itch.
It was also a Kickstarter game.
Oh yeah, I did hear that too. Yeah.
How much was the game?
I think when I got it, it was like, I'm blanking because I bought like 6 games all in one, so I don't remember. I feel like it was like on sale, so it was like $35 or something. I don't know.
You spent $35 on a game?
Yeah. No, not all of us get them free. You don't get them free.
What you mean? First of all, wait a minute. I paid $35 for RimWorld, so don't act like that. I paid $35.
Oh yeah, that's.
I'm sorry. How much did you pay for Fallout 76?
I paid for $80. I paid $80.
$80? Holy crap!
I paid. Thank you, Zeldrick, to let him know that I don't be getting free games all the damn time.
And did you pre-order the game?
I pre-ordered the game. Correct.
$80 is a lot of money.
It is.
I'm saying, but for you to spend $35,
honestly, I think it's having the reverse effect that you think it is. It's not that I'm over here like, oh yeah, she does pay for games. I'm over here like, how you questioning my $35 when you paid $80 for a game? And you don't even play it like that.
Look, first of all, that's my business, okay?
So it's his $35 is his business. Don't be calling out.
I'm just shocked because he usually, I'm like, since I known him, he like get like less expensive games, and he always.
Well, yeah, okay. Here's the thing though. I paid $35 for that game, but I got 6 games for like $52. Like I paid like almost close-ish to half as much as what you paid, and I got 6 games. I'm still being cheap. It's not like I'm not being cheap, but that game literally just came out. Like you're not gonna get it for you can't get it for $5 at this point.
No. I wasn't.
But I still want to try it now. It's kind of on my list.
I'm just surprised. That's all. It's normal for me to spend money on stuff I don't use, like Fallout 76. But that's me. It's our y'all know that already. It's just surprising to me that you spent that much on one game. That's all.
Well, I'm gonna play my game.
See, that's the truth with you.
Yeah. Guess how much it was on Kickstarter?
How
Was
much?
it like $1?
$28.
It's $28.
Yeah,
really?
and 20,000 people backed it up on just for
Nice.
the $28 one. But the more expensive ones, yeah, you can get like 2 copies or something like that, and like other
There's
stuff.
no multiplayer though, right?
I
No,
don't
but you can
know.
get extra CD keys
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for what?
to give to friends.
Apparently,
Yeah.
there's cheat codes in this game too, and they needed like $1 million in order for it to be, to include cheat codes in the game instead of DLCs.
Interesting.
Okay.
Remember
just-
cheat
I
codes,
don't know.
everybody?
Yeah.
I'm gonna dip my toe in that in the future. I'm gonna dip my toe in that.
In
What, cheat
Kickstarters?
codes?
No, the Castlevania game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never played one.
Bloodstained?
This is gonna be the first
You ne-
Castlevania style
I'm
game.
sorry, what? You what? You
What?
what? You never played a Castlevania game?
No. I told you I didn't even play Mega Man before I started playing it on stream like
Man,
3 weeks
Symphony
ago.
of the Night. Oh my God, one of the best ones out there. You never played a Castlevania game, okay?
Watch what happens when I play it and it doesn't hold up.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you play Symphony of the Night Castlevania, I think you'll really like that one. If you ever
What
get
is it
around
about
to
it? What is it about it that in 2019 I'll be like, yeah,
I think
I'm still into this.
graphically it still holds up, and I think control-wise it still holds up.
What was that on? That wasn't the one on
It was
like
on
the
PlayStation.
16-bit consoles? Oh, it was this. Okay, it's way after that.
Yeah, it was
Right.
PlayStation 1. But
Hmm.
yeah, Symphony of the Night.
Wait, you
is
think
something-
there's a PlayStation 1 game that like the graphics hold up?
Yeah, because it has that pixelated graphics that's kind of like what's the game? Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that I also played this Moonlighters too. So it's kind of like that kind of pixelated graphics, but side scroller.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm surprised. You never played Castlevania game.
I mean, I never really did either. That's the only one that I played.
I played a Game Boy Advance Castlevania game, and it turns out that according to most people, I got the bad one, and I was like, I don't know, this is the first Castlevania game I've ever played, and I kind of liked it, so I'm sure I'll really like Bloodstained if and when I get it.
I
There's-
technically have never played a Metroid game either.
Bullshit.
Oh,
I haven't played
Have
one either.
not
so-
played a
Actually,
single.
Me neither.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I never really played Metroid. I tried playing it. I just couldn't get past the first. I mean, I beat the first boss, but then I didn't know what to do. Next, that's how I was. Speaking of what do you call it, Bloodstain, and I really wish I responded to him. Was one of my old teammates from Heroes Hype. He works at 505 Games. And I think on Twitter he said something like, "Who is a streamer that wants this game for free?" or something like that. And I was like, and then I didn't think about it for some reason.
Wait, Bloodstain?
Yeah, for Bloodstain.
Oh,
And I was like saying, "Oh shit, I should have asked him."
maybe they still have codes. You never know.
Well,
Still check with them.
way to flex your resources of getting free games. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't
could've
even
been
know if I
Lady
would have
Infamous for a
gotten
day.
it because
You
there
had
could
an
be limit.
opportunity to get a free game and missed it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, all I'll say is that Lady Infamous, your Steam library is looking a little thin for the number of free games we be posting in Discord.
Really?
When you showed a list of like, you were like, which game should I play? There was like 8 games in there.
First of all, I do not have 8 games. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 17 games. Get out
Okay.
of here, man.
Okay, 17.
17.
Come
It's
on, man. I
respectable.
didn't even download all the codes that I have.
All right.
It's respectable.
Hold on. Let me see how much I have in my Steam library. 1,
Hey,
2,
we don't
3, 4, 389. All right, got it. So we're totally on par right there.
Hey, yo, I'm cool with my 17. I don't want to get a a game that I'm not gonna like and it's gonna be empty space. I want to legit get games that I enjoy.
Yeah. Let me count my games. 588.
How many games do you have, T?
Oh, I gotta check. I don't know.
You just go to the Steam library
I
and then
have
click
at least
on games.
like close to at this point close to like 200 keys that I haven't even put in. I don't know. I'm probably at like 650 or something like that. I think.
Man, let me get a key then. You talking about my thin library?
I gave you at least like 2 or 3 of them.
Keys to your apartment? Really? Jeez. Why does she need that many?
Keys to like a game. I don't remember you giving me a key to any games.
He posted it on his
fine.
Discord, like on his, like, what was it, game giveaways?
The video game giveaways.
Yeah.
But
Something
And
like
I don't
that.
see
Yeah.
no keys up in here.
well,
I
now
don't see no keys up in here.
now
I tried
that
to
you've
give you
gone-
Hellblade too. He was like, I got it already.
I'm sorry, what game?
Tried to give you Hellblade. I ended up giving it to Zeldrick.
I got it, but I ain't gonna take no game I already got. That's just stupid, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
There's definitely games that I've played on Steam that I have copies of on Xbox, but because I didn't want to break out my 360, I just ended up playing them on Steam. Like pretty much all the BioShock series, the entire thing I played on PC, even though I had the whole thing on 360 when people gave me codes for it. So you never know. Once you get into PC gaming, you might want to play those games more on PC than you do on like your console.
Like BioShock, I played all the BioShock series though. Why would I play it on PC?
I wasn't trying to give you BioShock. That's mine.
That's fine. Yeah, yes, compared to the rest of you guys, my library is thin as fuck. It's okay though. That's the best part of PC, right? You're exploring new games and how cheap can you get them and how good they are.
Mhm.
Humble Bundle will totally give you a lot of games that you won't play. But
Yeah.
it's still a good deal. Like,
That's where I end up giving away a lot of my stuff. I'm like, oh, I have this game or I'm not going to play it.
right.
Like Dying Light, I think, was on there at one point and I gave it to somebody. Even though it's like, I've heard that's a really good game and I've seen like a bunch of gameplay footage of it and looks fun-ish. I'm just like, that's not my type of game. Just like hand it away. But you still end up getting a bunch of stuff that you will play eventually. You still have Destiny 2, Zeldrick? And Sharpie?
Yeah.
Y'all still have
Yeah.
it installed?
I
Yep.
have it installed.
Or no, I don't have it
What?
installed. That thing's like
What?
100 gigs. So
On
Well-
PlayStation or on PC?
on PC.
That's usually the answer.
That has been 100% the answer every time, Famous.
Yeah,
You've
you can
asked,
play.
"Oh, is
You
it
can
a-"
play with a controller on PC if you want. Like you can just hook
Yeah.
it up.
I did that yesterday. It was great. I
But
was like, I can play this on my PC.
yeah,
I don't even know if I got that Destiny 2 on PC when it came out for free.
actually, more of the question is, can you computer run it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that thing is pretty
Probably not.
demanding. Yeah.
No problem. Let me just close that out then.
Is anybody, I know Sharpie, I feel like incidentally you keep ended up playing a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff. Like I'm kind of excited about Mario Maker 2, not because I'm going to play it and not because I'm going to buy it, because I'm not, but for the same reason that I was kind of excited about like Little Big Planet when it came out. It's just really, I just enjoy watching videos of people making really cool stuff that I know I could never make.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I kind of want to just see like some good videos of Super Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, I think it's more of a creative space than like a gameplay space to most people.
Yeah, that's why I said it's kind of similar to Little Big Planet, where it was, a lot of people played very few people's created levels because like there was this really small subset that can make amazing stuff, and then a bunch of people who had no idea how to do like proper game design, so it would look horrible or it would play horribly. So
Yeah, somebody
But
made
I
a
just like watching the
calculator.
videos,
Somebody
they're
made
really
a
good ones.
calculator in Little Big Planet a long time ago.
I feel like every time you have one of these systems that's robust enough, somebody makes a calculator. Eventually, it happens.
I mean, isn't that what the first thing you learn in programming class? Is try to make a calculator of some sort?
No, the
ish.
first thing
Not
you
like a
do is
real
output
hello
like
world.
words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right about that. But as in like a real program, like other than Hello World.
Well, I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like a legit calculator? Like,
No. Well, I mean, like you learn how to do the whole math thing because I remember when I took
well, yeah, you'd learn how to
programming
do
in
that.
high school, they we had a programming class in high school and I took it and then like they made us do all these math things like on C. So
Yeah, because they're a good way to test like, whether or not you have a good understanding of math functions and stuff like that. You'll typically do projects associated with like, figure out this thing where you can input a certain value for A and a certain value for B, and then it'll output, whatever specific result you want based on doing all the mathematics inside the code. But I don't know if I've ever had somebody tell me to make a calculator.
Yeah.
That's pretty complicated.
All right, I think that's it for today. Let's get up with everybody's socials. Zeldrick, let's start off with you.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Zeldrick. It's ZELDRICK. Or you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Zeldrick, at Zeldrick. And with Shadowbringers coming out, I'm going to be playing just that. That's going to be pretty much my stream. And then if there's any downtime, I might pick up Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Other thing being that I will be having raid nights for Final Fantasy XIV when I get to Endgame. So be prepared for that.
All right, LadyInfamous.
Told you. You might as well call her real name.
That's not my real name. Golly.
It's hella fun just messing around with that.
Thanks everybody for stopping by. Thanks for my lovely co-hosts here, and check me at twitch.tv /lady_infamous415. We doing the road to TwitchCon. We're gonna play some Fallout 76 next week. And you guys have a wonderful day.
All right, and T?
I'm at twitch.tv/UnsheathedP, UNSHEATHEDP, variety streamer. But for the near future, it's going to be mostly Samurai Shodown. Like I said, preparing for Evo. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch. Other than that, yeah, that's it.
All right, and my name is JSharpie. You can find me on twitch.tv/JSharpie, and on Twitter it's JSharpieTV, and on the Instagrams it's JSharpie with 2 E's at the end, like the Sharpie.
You got an Instagram?
Yeah.
No, somebody else has an Instagram. I don't know who JSharpie with 2 E's is.
Well, somebody else took the JSharpie on it, and I kept asking him. I kept asking Instagram, can you? This guy's inactive. Can I take it? And then they never said yeah. So, all right, that's it. See you next week.